Welcome back, everyone. To a special little intermission episode of The Wolf Among Us. I really wanted to jump just right back into episode 2, and see a little bit where the story was going. But something that a lot of you guys may have been missing because of where my face cam is located. Is every time we've been meeting a new character or something important happens, up in the right hand corner it gives a an indication of a new entry that's been placed into the Book of Fables, which is kind of like a glossary or an appendix for the game. It gives a bunch of little subtle and nuanced details about a lot of the characters. It tells you where they're from, a little bit of a personality about them, and I'll just go over the new ones that we got, and just read them out to you guys, because it gives a little bit of an extra peek into the background and the history of these. Now I know to some people that might seem a little bit like cheating. I'm getting extra information that was not given to me directly inside the game. I'm gonna justify this by saying this is the type of information that would be known to the characters inside the game anyways. So to accurately gauge situations, I have to know who I'm dealing with and their history, Bluebeard here. I don't know who Bluebeard is, I don't know his history, but it really shoots him up into a person of interest space. But anyways, Big B Wolf, the Fabletown Sheriff. He's the renowned Big Bad Wolf. He's known for tormenting pigs and girls in red hoods, but is trying to put those dark days behind him. Big B now acts as Fabletown's sheriff and remains in his human form mostly. However, due to his rough past, the citizens of Fabletown are slow to trust him. Big B is determined to show that he's truly changed, but some instincts are just too hard to control. And you guys know what happens when his instincts get hard to control. That's a sentence that could have really been phrased better. Anyways, next up, Miss Snow White. Oh, poor Snow. Snow White may seem cold, but this stems from her life of mistreatment and abuse back in the homelands. Okay, so yeah, you can see from these backstories, if it wasn't clear enough from the gameplay, they're going down the much darker route with these fables. They weren't having a good time even when they were still fairy tales. After escaping assault and imprisonment, not to mention an attempt on her life, she married Prince Charming. It wasn't long before Snow discovered that Charming cheated on her with her estranged sister, Rose Red, and she divorced him. After the Exodus, Snow focused her attention on setting up a safe haven for the Fables in the New World. She now serves as assistant to the deputy mayor of Fabletown. Woody. That is a very impressive lumberjack beard. If I could grow one of those, I would, but you guys don't want to see me with a beard. It's not attractive. The Woodsman, fallen hero. The Woodsman is one of the few men who went toe-to-toe with Bigby in his Black Forest days and lived to tell the tale. In an attempt to save Little Red Riding Hood, he split the Great Wolf's belly open with his axe, filled him full of rocks, and threw the beast into a river. To his dismay, his popularity has faded. Even his name is forgotten, and he is only known as the Woodsman. So you guys remember from the bar conversation too, the Woodsman was not a good guy. Even in the fairy tales in this universe, he went to Little Red Riding Hood's house to rob her. And it was all just a big misunderstanding. Faith, the Donkey Skin Girl. Faith, otherwise known as the Donkey Skin Girl, that wasn't intentional, made it through the Exodus from the magical homelands with the clothes on her back, her husband, and nothing else. She was once a beautiful princess, happily married to Prince Lawrence of a neighboring kingdom. Her life should have had a happy ending, but the mundane city of New York wasn't kind to her or her marriage. With no money, Faith found herself turning tricks to make the rent for a cheap apartment on the outskirts of Fabletown. She had a difficult life, but she did what she could to survive in an unfamiliar world. Beauty, the caring wife. Beauty and her husband, Beast, once lived in an enchanted castle, but they were forced to flee the homelands in the Exodus, leaving all of their wealth behind. Now they live in a modest studio in Fabletown, New York. Though times are hard, with Beast working multiple jobs to pay the bills, the couple have the longest lasting relationship of all of the Fables. So, these guys are the lovers of the story. Beast, the concerned husband. Beast and his wife Beauty left everything behind when they escaped the homelands in the Exodus. Without his former wealth, Beast must pick up extra work to make ends meet. He is able to get around Fabletown without a glamour most of the time, but if Beauty gets too angry with him, he becomes more beastly by the minute. Despite the occasional bickering, the two are truly in love and have the longest lasting relationship of anyone in Fabletown. Mr. Toad! The Slumlord. Mr. Toad is the superintendent for a defunct tenement on the edge of Fabletown proper. Because he's a 3.5-foot talking amphibian, Toad is required by Fabletown law to keep his family and himself magically glamored to appear human. The problem is Toad isn't too concerned with what the law is and has to be reminded often. Colin, the couch surfer. Colin is better known as one of the three little pigs. Back in the homelands, they were harassed by the big bad wolf who blew down Colin's house of straw. So this was the dumb one. He built his house out of straw. I mean, he wasn't even the guy who went for wood sticks. After the Exodus, Colin and the other Fables who couldn't pass for human were sent to live at the farm in upstate New York. Unable to stand such a boring life, Colin constantly makes trips down to Fabletown to bother Bigby. He's always caught and sent back, but he doesn't let that stop him. Ichabod Crane, the deputy mayor of Fabletown. Hailing from the haunted town of Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane has been deputy mayor of Fabletown for nearly 115 years. So yeah, again, these guys are damn near immortal. Crane is a bundle of nerves and takes his job very seriously, though that doesn't mean he always does it well. As one of Fabletown's elite, Crane is often blind to the troubles of the less well-off citizens. Overall, Crane is authoritarian, cowardly, and always hiding something. So even the game is telling us this guy's a piece of shit, and you should watch out for him. Buffkin. Buffkin is a talking winged monkey from the land of Oz. So he's from Oz! You see, like this is why I wanted to do this, because these are just like neat little extra tidbits for people like me who didn't know where they came from and really wanted to. Now as Fabletown's librarian, he spends his time reading and stealing the deputy mayor's booze. He's prone to mischief, so when something goes wrong, he assumes he'll receive the lion's share of the blame. He's helpful when he wants to be, but most of the time he'd rather be drinking. Someone would have fired him long ago, but he's the only one who can make sense of the filing system. Fabletown, home of the Fables. Fabletown is a community located on Bullfinch Street in Manhattan's Upper West Side. To regular people, or Mundies, it appears to be an ordinary New York neighborhood, but it is really the home of fables from many worlds, and within the business office at the Woodlands lies a massive cavern, a vast library, and hundreds of magical items of immense power. All non-human fables live upstate on the farm, an extension of Fabletown. The Farm, Fabletown Annex. This is where Colin broke out from. The farm is home to fables who cannot pass as human. Giants, goblins, animals, etc. It's located in upstate New York, far enough away from the Mundies to avoid detection. Some of its residents resent their confinement to the farm, despite its size and comforts. To them, the farm is a prison. They would be allowed to leave the farm if they could purchase a glamour, but many don't have the money for something so expensive. Though some, like Colin, sneak out into the city anyway. Mundies. Non-fables. So, for anyone who was wondering what they meant when they said Mundies and couldn't put it together, it's short for mundane. Mundy is a catch-all term that fables use to refer to the non-magical inhabitants of their adopted home. Warding spells placed around the blocks of Fabletown and the farm keep their minds distracted and dull within certain boundaries. However, if anything should pique the curiosity or scrutiny of a large group of Mundies, these magical protection charms would overload and fail. As Sheriff of Fabletown, one of Bigby's primary functions is ensuring the Fabletown community maintains a low profile. Just on virtue of them specifically pointing this out, this curiosity or scrutiny of a large group of Mundies, it would all fail. I'm predicting that's going to happen in the story. It's probably going to be a threat, but I'm also going to guess right now that it overloads in Chapter 4. Hold me on that. Chapter 4 of the story. Glamours, disguise spell. Glamours are spells that allow the user to change their appearance. They are expensive, but can be purchased by non-human fables in order to pass for human among the Mundies. Cheap glamours can be found in the seedier parts of Fabletown, but they are often unreliable and prone to sudden failure. Prince Lawrence, Faith's husband. After escaping the homelands, Prince Lawrence and his wife Faith immediately fell victim to the harsh realities of the mundane world. They moved to New York hoping to find aid in a community of fellow fables, but without even enough money to live in Fabletown, they had to settle on an apartment on the outskirts of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, that meant they were out of sight and out of mind when it came to government assistance. Their prospects dwindling, Faith left Lawrence to try to make it on her own. Now, without his wife for support, Lawrence struggles to motivate himself and quickly sinks into depression. So it sounds like that would have been what he had done if we had saved him, but we didn't, and now he's dead. Oh well. The Tweedles. The Tweedle brothers, Dumb and Dee, are thugs for hire. They appear human, allowing them to carry out their contracts in the Mundy world, without drawing suspicion. They are as inseparable as they are ruthless. Holly. Alright, so she wasn't actually anyone important, it seems. She's just a regular old troll. Holly is a no-nonsense kind of troll, and the owner of the Trip Trap Bar. She's glamored to appear human, but her patrons know better. Holly takes good care of her regulars, often the downtrodden fables with little to spare, but she has no patience for the Fabletown government that has done nothing to locate her missing sister. So, when Gren was talking about in the bar, he made a passing mention to not liking the government because they didn't help Holly find her sister. This is Holly, and she lost her sister. I imagine that'll probably come up again. Grendel, Drifter. Alright, so that asshole with the black hair who started a fight with us in the bar and turned into this guy, at first I thought he might be from, like, Nightmare Before Christmas or something, but no, he's actually Grendel from the Beowulf story. Grendel just wants to be left alone. In the old days, he terrorized Norse mead halls, but lately he can be found occupying a stool in various quiet, dumpy bars around New York. He hates the noise of the city, but must work there to afford his glamour. Despite his gruff bearing, he's fiercely loyal to those who learn to offer him the space and silence he desires. Talking to him is like watching a time bomb tick down. It's only a matter of time. So the woodsman must be on his good side, because he tried to protect the woodsman from us. And here's Bluebeard, the wealthy scoundrel. Bluebeard managed to escape the homelands with his riches intact and continues to be one of the wealthiest fables in New York. The Fabletown government depends on his generous contributions, and he often uses this influence for his own benefit. As a former serial killer, he claims his days of decapitating his brides are over. But even if he was able to leave his violent ways in the homelands, that hasn't stopped him from making the occasional trip down Crooked Lane. Alright, so, you see, if I hadn't read this, I would have no idea that his entire motivation is to do exactly what's been happening to all the pretty girls. He's number 2 on my suspect list now. Bigby's Mercy. In the days leading up to the Exodus, the Big Bad Wolf haunted armies of men and goblins in the Black Forest. These invading forces had driven off the great beast's preferred quarry, and their own flesh was rotten with corruption. Hardly a suitable replacement. He made it his game to destroy their camps, devour their night watchmen, and disrupt the supply trains while sparing their prisoners. One day he broke their ranks and discovered a particular woman they held captive. Her skin was white as snow, but her hair was dark as the night sky. He approached her, and she, knowing no sword could match the giant beast's power, bravely placed her shackles in the beast's mouth. He freed her, but years would pass before the two met again in the Mundy world. This is how the Big Bad Wolf met Snow White back in the day. And that's probably why she continued to have an appreciation for him. But anyways, this first video probably went a little bit longer than most of them will, because you can see there's only 2 pages and a handful, and that's split among 5 parts of the game, and so the first one's obviously going to have the most introduction. So the next time one of these videos goes up, it'll hopefully be a little bit shorter, but again, I just, wanted to get this out and so that you guys could get some of this background information along with me. So thank you all so much for watching. And stay tuned for the next video when we'll start part 2 of The Wolf Among Us. See you all next video. Ta-ta.